We're here at the Old Edwards Farm with our executive chef Chris and farmer Brian. And we're just going to talk about some processes that go into making your events happen. How are you guys doing today?
Great, doing well.
Good.
Well, thank you.
So I think the best place to start is kind of your experience with farming. How did it come about, again, with chefing as well? So if you guys want to start us off.
Sure, yeah, I'll start real quick. I've kind of grew up in family farms. My grandfolks had a dairy farm and a peach farm. It's been a huge part of my culinary journey as far as just being involved with family farms and small farms. So when I kind of got to Old Edwards, there was a big void in small family farms in the area. So I reached out to the Williams and asked if we could start growing on this plot of land that we're sitting at now. That was about 12 years ago, roughly. And we started off by just hand hose, and didn't work very well. So we quickly realized that we needed to do raised beds, which you can kind of see throughout behind us, and just kind of grew it and just took it over the years until about 2 years ago, where we got Brian involved, who's massively expanded the gardens and the garden staffing and the volume and the amounts. So I'll kind of hand it over to Brian.
So my passion for produce and ingredients started working in kitchens. After a short break from a kitchen, interning at a farm, passion quickly changed to growing vegetables. Now I think I've found a life's career and found happiness.
Well, that's great, guys. What do you think as far as the amount of vegetables and crops that we grow? What percentage of that goes actually into our events and into Madison's restaurant?
I'd like to say about 50% of our produce goes straight into Madison's and to you guys at the events team.
Great.
Which is to the tune of about, monetary value is to the tune of about $1,500 to $1,700 per week in each venue. So it is able to really supplement our actual vegetable produce for both outlets.
Cool. And about, you've said you've been here for what, 2 years, 3 years, almost like that. How would you say the processes have changed since you've come on board?
My goal upon hiring was just to focus on production. We do have 100 beds here. We have another 50 raised beds at our other property. So to increase production, I've started a little bit in-ground farming and just opened up some more space and just trying to stay on a very tight planting schedule, never having any beds open. So that's my goal.
And then for you, Chris, did that make a difference as far as culinary aspects, having that steady production?
Yes, bringing Brian on allowed us to really be able to utilize the products and the amount of products that were coming off the gardens, because we were able to work on crop rotation and bed rotation and maximize the actual possible volume of produce. So it enabled us to be able to impart that on the menus and to the guests. So now we're to a comfortable state that I can do menu meetings with the brides and the grooms and actually hand sell what I know will be coming out of the gardens during that time of year, because I know that our production and our volume levels are up to a par where it's sustainable. And that was very hard to do prior to Brian being on board, and has really given us that, I think in my opinion, that wow factor to be able to know that the squash and the beets and the carrots are going to actually be here, have the volume that we need in order to take care of our guests.
Great. When we first started, you said 13 years ago?
Roughly 12,
something like that. How many varieties would you say were actually in this farm?
When we first started, there was 5.
5.
But within a year or two, we probably grew that to be in 10 or 15. I'm not a gardener from the standpoint of knowing a green thumb. I know the product that I like, and I know the gist of how it works. So I've always partnered with somebody like Brian to be able to take care of the fine-tuning details. But I've always tried to keep it manageable and to have some type of honesty in what we were growing. So when we first started, we were growing based upon having 4 to 10 different items that we could consistently grow and consistently put on the menu. Now, after many of years and having Brian on board, we're able to have much more variety so that we can really put that into productivity.
And how many varieties would you say are in this farm right now?
In this garden right now, we have about 30 varieties.
And that goes from what, lettuce, squash, carrots.
Yeah, this time of year, these gardens are flourishing with squash, finishing up our carrot and beet crops from the spring, and cucumbers, and our other property houses all our tomatoes.
Great. And about the growing processes, how do we do things as far as organic growing, and what do we focus on, all that kind of stuff?
We constantly focusing on organic gardening. This is a completely chemical-free garden. We start with organic seeds, and we tend to the gardens 100% organically.
Great. What is your favorite plant to grow? I'm sure this is a hard question.
Tough question. If I had to answer it, I'd have to say lettuce and greens.
Okay.
Something about growing lettuce and greens.
Is there a particular reason why, or you just?
I enjoy. Maybe the love of salads.
Yeah.
I have an immense love for salads, so
So do I.
so I love growing it.
So vegans are your best friend,
Yes.
basically. What about you, Chef?
My favorite vegetable to grow, I think, that I'm the worst absolutely at, would probably be tomatoes. There's such an art form to it, and I think that the fruit that comes off of tomatoes are just so delicious. It also probably dates back to my childhood. My grandparents, we ate tomatoes with every meal during the summer. So, but it's the hardest one for me to grow, especially in our climate and our area. It can be very challenging. But as far as to cook with, it would be, you know, the fine herbs, the flowers, the really finesse things that you get out of having your own garden, you know, using carrot tops and cucumber blossoms and flowering nasturtiums and squash blossoms. Those are the things that really, really excite me, because those are the things that you don't just get from a commercial producer.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You mentioned something about climate. Does this climate make anything harder other than tomatoes? Anything easier? Both of you can kind of go through this.
Climate for me as the farmer in Highlands, I love it. It allows me to grow a lot of greens and lettuces throughout the whole summer. Sometimes a little wet, and you got to be quick as a farmer, since the season is a little short.
Yeah.
But at our other property, we have 5 hoop houses and a heated greenhouse, which should keep us growing through December.
Great. Chef?
I think that it's a very interesting climate that we live in. So the hotter things are always a struggle for us. And that's been kind of the exciting thing about the last 2 years. We've spent a lot more time in infrastructure on hoop houses and on greenhouses. So we're able to expand our growing season quite a lot, considering where we're at and the elevation that we're at. So I think it is challenging, but I think that that's the fun part about farming. And I think that that's where, you know, having Brian involved has really evolved that for us over a 12-month growing season. We've taken on microgreens and so forth during the winters, and a lot of like edible flowers and stuff. So I really think that we're a 12-month growing season now for us, which has been a huge, you know, feat, and really awesome that we're able to do that. So it's challenging because it is wet. It can be cool. It's about to rain on us now. But no, it's fun, and I think I wouldn't want to grow anywhere else.
Great. What about, you mentioned salads. Is that the only thing that you like to prepare with these foods, or is there a particular way that you enjoy preparing specific ones? Again, hard.
Hard, yeah, very, very hard. And there's so many varieties that I could talk about them all, and how fun they are and ways to use. You know, I think a lot of the fun thing is working with the guest and creating that relationship with them, especially in our menu meetings and our menu design, and then realizing how we can utilize those ingredients and those crops to really create an experience for them. So I think that's one of the things that, from an event side, really make it fun for me, is to talk to the guests, find out things that they like, and then look at how we can use the ingredients out of the garden to showcase during the event. We had this wonderful bride and groom that it was one of grandmother's signature farm salads that they wanted me to recreate. And it was really cool to use all the vegetables out of our garden to recreate that experience for them, and make that kind of memory on their special day.
Yeah, we always try to keep things a little bit personal.
Yeah.
What about you, Brian?
I always enjoyed working with you. What I mean is, last week you called for a specific order, and we got out here. We were able to fulfill the whole order, and nothing makes us happier
Been trying to do things like that, yeah.
than fulfilling your guests and the sales team's needs, and being able to offer what they'd like when they get here for their special meal and event.
And we appreciate all the help, definitely. As far as your growing up, was having farming kind of always be part of your life? You said so yourself, Chris, but as far as Green Thumbs are concerned, do you think that it came naturally to you? Did you have to work at it? What was your kind of personal experiences?
I had to work for my green thumb. At a young age, I spent 0 time in gardens and on farms. Again, found my passion for ingredients and plants, working in kitchens, and when I got a chance to get out to a farm and spend some time and actually plant some plants myself, I found a new passion and quickly moved out of the kitchen into farming, and I'll be here for the rest of my life.
Yeah. What about you, Chef?
I still to this day will not ever claim that I have a green thumb. It's one of those things where it takes years and years of trial and error and practice. I grew up around farms and being a part of them, but even now, still to this day, I'm not a grower. I am purely a chef. I like to mingle and rub shoulders and elbows with farmers, and that's, that relationship, I think, is what makes what we do so amazing. So I don't have a green thumb at all.
Neither do I. I'm the worst at anything involving green at all. And my first job was on a produce farm, so I don't know how I made it. Well, while we're here, why don't we kind of take a tour of the farm and see kind of specifics of produce that we actually are growing currently.
Awesome.
Sounds great. So walking through here, you'll see a crop of squash, some golden zucchinis, loaded with blossoms, as Chef Chris mentioned. Kitchen has been using hundreds of blossoms every week. You can see some rhubarb kind of at the end of its life for the spring. We're gonna make our way over to our carrot crop that
What's this tall beastie plant that you got behind you here?
tall beastie plant, sunchokes, Jerusalem artichokes.
Really cool. It's actually a native plant to this area. The Indians cooked it for many of years. It's the small sunflower looking flower that you'll see on the side of the roads, but it has a root and it's a tubular, very creamy, very sweet, and so we love it. But this is an actual variety that we got that was indigenous to this area and have been working on growing it and building it back.
It's flourishing.
Yeah.
It definitely is flourishing. It's taller than all of us.
We have a crop of carrots here that have grown very well with our climate and wet spring.
You wanna go? You can go, bud.
We've been sending in probably 100 pounds of carrots weekly to Madison's over the past month. Sweet as candy.
And it looks like we've got beets behind you right here.
We do have a small crop of beets here.
Look at that big one.
Yeah, that was a very big one.
And fun part about working with chefs is we harvest a lot of baby vegetables. Chris especially, as he mentioned, he enjoys all the flowers and blossoms. He taught me that about farming, not necessarily something I was doing before I got here. So it's nice to harvest flowers and to give him what he needs for his plates.
Great. What about these tall ones right here on the wire?
So these are some sweet golden peas, and these are the kind of flowers that we're talking about. And this is a little pea blossom. These things a week or so ago were just pounding these out. We had hundreds and thousands of these probably throughout. But they make these beautiful golden little peas, which are really, really amazing and awesome.
Cool thing about this plant is it's an heirloom plant that was brought over from India. First time I've ever grown it, and it did well up here in our climate.
Yeah, it's looking great.
Again, picking probably 20 pounds weekly for Madison's of snow peas.
Wow, very cool.
Where do you guys want to go next?
What do you have to show us? Let's see.
Well, there's tons of herbs over here. The lavender is flowering right now, which is really beautiful. But we've got mint and oregano over here as well. We just passed some lemon balm. What else do we have? Some beautiful nasturtium flowers over there.
And these are all the herbs that go on all of the dishes
all the
as
dishes
far
as
as events and Madison's.
Events
too.
and Madison's. Our cocktail program is very much invested
Yeah.
in this section out here. We're using the lavender right now in our cocktails.
All that mint
Both the
and
spearmint, the chocolate mint. We're using a little bit of the savory and the thyme and Madison's and events. This is a really cool way of, Brian, he can probably explain a little bit more, but this is a cool way of trying to stretch the season on lettuce for our events with the shade crop.
Now that the summer heat's working its way in, we planted 2,000 heads of lettuce in the past 2 days for a summer crop of lettuce, hopefully harvested in August, just to keep them happy and let them get acclimated. We have shade covers over them, and obviously we'll be keeping them wet. We'll be babying this crop, and we're very excited about it as well.
Well, speaking of lettuce, guys, it was really great of you to let us come to the Old Edwards farm. A little cheesy.
Yeah, a little cheesy.
If y'all have any other questions for Chef or Farmer Brian, please put them in the comments, and we'll get to them the next time we come out and have a conversation with them. We'll see y'all later.
Ciao.